Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30-plus year video game enthusiast, industry analyst, and today for June 1st, 2026, I'll run through the latest gaming news, what I've been playing, etc., etc. Hope everyone's had a good weekend and a start of this new week and new month. Shout out to Autonomous Jim KillX. Autonomous, happy Pride Month. Yeah, that reminds me of something. When I was very young, in elementary school, I remember around that time, there was the idea of like being really into video games, nerdy into like it was almost like made fun of, kind of. I almost felt like it was more of a survival uh, thing rather than an actual thing, if that makes sense. I think just with video games, there's the computer aspect, the nerd thing, and it was a little bit there when I was in elementary school. And I remember I never got any heat for it, but I just remember in general hearing how it was talked about. And so I, and then I remember even at that very young age, really first hearing the concept of kind of that same sex relationship, right? And thinking, ooh, as a guy, me as a guy. But then I remember quickly thinking, oh, well, that's someone liking something, just like someone likes video games. And there's really no reason to make fun of someone for that because it's something they like and they're happy. I remember from a very early age thinking that. And I just remember, luckily, my parents were always really cool about that stuff. So, luckily that's kind of stuck with me, but I do think, yeah, it's very interesting. A very interesting little concept from that time. But with June 1st also, the beginning of the month, are some game announcements I'll get to shortly. But first, let's go into what I've been playing. Some interesting stuff here. Let me go to the screen share. Okay. 007 First Light, still hammering away at that. 5 hours, 30 minutes in. This is my game of the year. And like I've said before, it does things I normally don't like games doing, linear stuff, but it does it in a very fun way. I love when I'm doing a mission, and it's something simple, eavesdropping, getting information, and then I know, oh, there's going to be a fight scene coming up, and the fight scenes are fun, and I will lose in them. And that's the thing about this. It's not as straightforward and linear and easy as you might think. I mean, I'll be in this fight and I'll just, oh, I messed that up. Oh, I could have done this better. And so when I know I get into an action scene and that I could die if I'm not careful, it really makes me think, okay, what do I have around me that I can then use? And there's some times where a fight will be over and it's like, wow, I could have actually done this, this, and this, and I didn't because I was just so in the moment. And I love that you'd be fighting someone and there could be an item right next to you, like on a table or something that you just pick up and bash their head with. Jump over. Oh, even that split-second decision you have to make where it's like, okay, this guy has a gun. Am I going to go run up to him and try to tackle him? Should I try to shoot the gun out of his hand or should I just take cover? Like, I'm really enjoying it. And just with the whole cinematic Bond approach. And it's not an Unreal Engine game. So it looks like it's running better. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, I totally recommend that game. Totally recommend that game. And again, it's not one of those two where it's, speaking of Pride Month, where people will then lean into like the DEI. I get it. There's both sides to that. There's really something to representation, but there's also a way that could be used in bad ways. But this James Bond game does a good job of having more, and I don't know how to explain it. Like it seems to be a lot more varied than a typical Bond affair, but also even with the 3D and CG, for the straight guy like me, it has the girl stuff, right? The good-looking Bond girl stuff. So it hits all the marks. When I see people complain online about the woke stuff, like I just ignore it because it's like that's not this game. It's not. Okay, moving on. Here's this Shin Kido Senki Gundam W Endless Duel on SNES. played this on, and I think I've talked about it on Godot Explained. It's a typical, I say typical, but it is a 2D fighting game that came out in 1996. If you go to Gundam Explained after this, if you haven't seen it yet, I do have a review up for this game. So I played it on Gundam Explained for a few morning shows, and I got stuck. Eventually beat the boss. Went through to, I had to look it up, but unlock Epion to use. It's a fun game. Like back in the day, if this was out in the US, I probably would have either had this or had rented it enough just to have as a fighting game to play. Just because, I enjoy fighting games. And that's the other cool thing about retro achievements. Even though I'm using Exophase, it's able to signify that I have beaten the game. That's that little silver thing there. Now, I want to say if I did it without a save state, it would have been gold, but I kind of don't care. Just because, really for me, in modern times, if I want to finish old school games, I do have to save when, normally you're not able to. I guess it could have been a little different. I could try again with Wing, because what I was doing was I would get to the last boss. It was the next to last boss that was hard, not the last boss. And, he would kill me and I'd restart, kill me and restart. And it's like, well, I got to go, guys. I'm just going to save my game. Which I guess normally back in the day, without the save states on a computer, just using the hardware, I would have just been like, okay, well, I'll either pause it and leave it, or if I can't, I'll just come back and then start again from the first, which is not long. It doesn't take too long to do it. But now I'm playing, so that was on normal. I'm playing on hard now, and I'm really enjoying it. It's now that I've figured out a lot of the moves, and that's what I like about fighting games. That's why I play them the way I do. I tend to go in and just try to figure things out on my own because I am pushed to my limit. And then it's like, okay, well, what moves then can I learn? And so I'll look up moves. And even then, again, I'll be pushed to my limit, but then you could break through. That's what I love about fighting games. So anyway, check out that review if you haven't. Now, Mina the Hollower, I made a post about this on the Blue Gamer YouTube posting. I want to use that more to talk instead of Twitter because, again, people complain about everything on Twitter. But Mina the Hollower should be a game that I love. Like, and maybe let me look up and see if I can find an area that maybe shows. Uh-oh. Dog got loud toy upstairs. Okay, let's see. Let's just see if this happens to show some of what I'm talking about. Okay. So the game plays like a you would think it's like a traditional Zelda, right? And they even are showing a screenshot here. Look at, and I think it only shares that in sort of its top downness and the fact that you attack, but you don't really have free range to attack. But you can hold down the jump button to burrow underground. That kind of helps you get around enemies. And I'm playing the game and I'm trying to figure out, why do I not like this? Well, one, it does something where it's easy to die, and that's okay. Because it's also easy to level up and upgrade stuff. There's always something to do. Let's see if this... I'm just going to show some gameplay just to kind of show, you can go under the guy and attack. You see how it's super easy. But what it tends to do that I find annoying is, here's an example. This looks like what would be inside a Zelda dungeon from a 2D Zelda game. But the game is this even outside a dungeon, like just walking around. And on the surface, it's like, oh, that's not a big deal. But what it ends up being is, I guess the moment to moment of these. Oh, this is a good example because I'm actually at this part and it was kind of, although it's, so you see there's a guy at like the bottom right, a little enemy there, and he just kind of runs around. And what you're seeing here, it's like an obstacle course. It's, can you jump over the pits while hitting the enemies to like get a switch and then come back? And that seems very basic what I'm bringing up, and it seems like a lot of games do that, but there's something about this game where it is boring and not that fun. Yet I'm looking at pixel graphics I love. I love the idea that you can dig in the ground and then jump. It's almost like within this, there is so much gameplay going on that it's almost like you're managing that. So, like, you got the health potions at the bottom, right? It's very interesting how that works because you actually can't fill your health unless you've attacked enemies to then fill up this yellow bar to then fill the health. And it's little interesting things like that. Or let's say, like where this 20 is, that's an umbrella that allows you to float over certain pits. And you need that sometimes. But if you die or you don't have it, you have to then go find it somewhere so that you can then come back and do this. And while that seems like, oh, that's normal, right? The pacing of that, it's like, oh, then I have to go through these sections that I'm talking about where the world is like it's like a long path inside a Zelda dungeon where you're just jumping over pits, avoiding enemies. And again, that is fun when I'm going into a dungeon and figuring out a puzzle, but for it to be the moment-to-moment gameplay, it gets really dull because like I'm having to manage the game's mechanics instead of just playing the game. Again, like I said with the health vial, where, I mean, this is just an example where you have to hit enemies to increase your vial, to increase the amount of health you can get back for when you need to use a vial. So I'm sometimes just having to think that before I can, like, play the game. I enjoy fighting the bosses. They're a lot of fun. It's really, that's probably the best part of this is the bosses. And I also do like the the areas that are like the towns with NPCs and you could talk to people. There's a lot of that. I've probably done that more than actually going through and attacking enemies. So it's just this weird amalgamation of different things that we're familiar with as a retro game fan, but put together and presented to me. It's almost like it's missing something. It's dull, and I'm a little upset because I was excited about this, and this looks like the kind of game I'd like to play. So I'm going to keep trying it. Hopefully it clicks eventually, but I'm surprised that I'm not understanding and not feeling it right away. So there's that. Hey, going down this list, Autonomous. I feel like James Bond has always been varied with the Brosnan era, Pierce Brosnan, era Bond girls and villainous also being capable spies in their own right. Yeah, they've always improved on that, and I think James Bond's always done a good job of delineating between this is the eye candy, but here's just a female character, and they are like any other character. Talos, so what is up? Let's see. Adam, have you seen Dead Ischia? It's a fun little game. Yep. Not only that, but I've already loaded it with Gundam music, Castlevania music, skins. I plan to do a video for the channel for Gundam Explain on it. It's just that so far it's kind of limiting in its gameplay. I'm waiting for some updates because I guess it's technically still early access, but yeah, that's a cool one. Altronomus, it seemed like Link's Awakening with hints of Soulsborne. I would say that's sort of accurate. I think a lot of people are saying Soulsborne, not realizing that that's what Zelda did in the first place. You know, unless they just mean like you could die in a few hits, which is and that's the thing. It's when, yeah, the whole vial thing. Like when you use the vial for your health, out of any game I've ever played, that game takes the longest for you to use a vial to get health. It's almost like you would really only do it in extreme circumstances or before you go to a boss. Because if you're using it and then you get hit, you lose it completely and you don't get that health. But then if your health is low, if the yellow is low, you won't get that much health. It's like I don't want to have to manage that. So anyway, okay, I'm glad I got that off my chest. I want to play it more, but all right. And then Mouse PI for Hire. I think that was the last game, and I actually played it this morning. Let's see if it actually shows up. Mouse PI for Hire is good. I think I explained it before. It plays just like a boomer shooter. If you like Doom and stuff, yeah, I didn't update. If you like Doom and stuff, I think you'll like this. And I think it modernized it enough, even though the graphics look cool, the whole Mouse PI, like old school animation. It's just the level design and the shooting work. It could actually be any artwork, and I think it would still be fun. There's just something about how it's sectioned off, the pacing. because you do a little bit of exploration and then a little bit or a lot of shooting, and the levels, the stages, they sort of play into each other. They'll wrap around, you'll come back, and it feels very tight, and it's like, yeah, sitting down, going on a little adventure. Because it's not hard. It doesn't take a lot of stress to play, but it's fun and enjoyable. So I recommend that game. All right, guys, I'm going to show you something really cool that I did over the weekend that I can't believe I did. This is a big deal for me. With AI allowing you to do so much more, especially Claude, like at work, using Claude, using Copilot, the way it allows me to get a lot done quicker, more efficiently. I was like, let me just apply this to making a video game. I've always wanted to make a video game. I have sort of in the past done things where I've created, a side-scrolling section, had, the textures moving around, like nothing really substantial. But I did something this weekend where I think I made something that actually plays well. Check this out. This is called Squadron Saviors. And the audio should come through. Oh, that is kind of low, is it? Yeah, it might be a little low. Sorry about that. But anyway, all of this stuff I did. Like, even if I didn't code it, anything that is occurring, I had to explain it. Explain the title coming in. Explain every little thing I'm having to account for. Like, I even created, this is based off an old design doc I made a long time ago, but this has where there's like 3 weapons your vehicle has, and they can upgrade to level 5 by picking up the colored orbs associated with that weapon type. And then the coins, that's for like upgrading between rounds if you happen not to be able to upgrade. There's a couple little things here. There's the shield. The purple's a shield pip, so if you get hit, one of those goes away. But also you can press a button that uses a shield pip, but that's for like when a missile comes at you. And then you can see, beat the first boss there. It plays awesome music. And so with all the artwork you're seeing, I generated using ChatGPT. And a little bit of Pixel Lab, just if I needed to get like something pixelated. But I mean, I went from having the Blue Gamer Productions, like I'm just saying, hey, have the game start where it fades in with my logo. Here's my logo. And then it fades into the menu screen. And I had to explain, here's the background. Here is the logo. Here is the graphics for each thing to choose. And I had to make those graphics. Like, it does take time. And then I was like, okay, I need a screen that shows what the controls are and how to play. And then I was like, okay, I want it where it fades in, and then you see your team with you. And then I even created this dialogue box. I typed in what everything is going to be that's said, and then explain it. Then have it where, they go flying off to get started. And then the title of the mission comes up, and then you get started. And then for each graphic you're seeing, even if I used AI to generate it, I had to get it. I had to get sprites for all the enemy ships. I had to get sprites for the machine guns, the missile, the plasma, for each one as they upgraded. The backgrounds to parallax, even the part where like the storm comes in. Let's see. I even said, have the screen flash white. 20 seconds into the level, and then I gave it stuff I made in ChatGPT. I was like, make me a cloud, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, okay, use these assets to make it now look like it's raining. I don't like the bottom as much. That's just where the rain is supposed to land, and it doesn't necessarily work that way. I mean, none of this stuff, again, would be like the final. Like if I was to release this as a game, I would say everything here is placeholder. This is just the proof of concept, the prototype that I can actually put a game together. And there's actually more levels too. I think there might be 5 levels total. It's just the first one is the only one that I completely went through to fill in with graphics and all that. So I got to say, guys, this was fun to do over the weekend. It was amazing. There's just so much more now that people could do by leveraging AI. It is crazy. Hey, Stephen Mina, the gameplay feels really good. Thank you. And I think that's one thing that it kind of nailed by me describing how the gameplay feels, because I said I want this to be like Thunder Force and Gradius. Those two have a very similar feel that I really like. And it nailed it. It nailed that feel. It's crazy. But I do want to, there's so much more I would possibly do with this. So again, this is more of the proof of concept that yes, you can. But so let's say I did a proof of concept first level over a weekend. If I was to then truly still use my process with AI to then get this done, it would still take months. There's still, like I said, all of the graphics you're seeing, as cool as they look, I would not have these as my final graphics. Also, like the text, it was doing its own text. I had to install like the player 2, press start, whatever it's called. Yeah, press start 2, I forget, the font. Because I was like, well, at least for now, let's make the font look like this until I have to make a sprite sheet of all the lettering. Or maybe they make fonts. There's so much more that I'm learning about video game development by doing this that I would need to do. But in the meantime, because what I would really, really, really want to do is make a Victory Gundam SHMUP, because there's so many ideas I have for that since I watched it for the first time a while back. That just came to me. A lot of it had to do with the music, and yeah, I'd like to do that sometime. That'd be fun. Okay, let's see. I am gonna go to some other news stories here real quick. So, well, first of all, the releases for June, right? Because June just started. We have Broken Lore Follow. Never heard of that. Now, did it really? Yeah, came out today. So, yeah, looks cool. That actually does look pretty cool. It's interesting how many games you never hear of that come out. There's Fate Keeper, Among the Sleep, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the series and Switch 2, because it was previously a PS5 exclusive. Seventh Guest Remake, River City Saga, Journey to the West. What? Interesting. This looks cool. I'm a fan of the River City games, River City Ransom, the Kunio-kun, side-scrolling brawler games. Interesting. All right. eFootball, Gothic 1 remake. I never played the original, but this would be a good way to start, especially if it's a remake with, modern improvements. Yeah, look at that. I love me some, AA Euro RPG, right? I could be wrong on all of those assumptions, but I was like, that's The Witcher. Okay. I don't think you guys saw that. And it was like, it looked like The Witcher gift. Okay, I'm gonna add to wish list. Okay. Lost Castle 2, one of the most wishlisted June releases. Wow, it's a 2D beat 'em up, but the roguelite. I mean, we just saw that with that River City game, but that series has more of those elements in them anyway. This looks cool. It's early access, so yeah, we'll move on. Oh, The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. I played the demo. I haven't played the new demo that supposedly carries over everything, but I love the way this looks. Square Enix is always doing those cool 2D RPGs, but this is more of a Zelda-like we were just talking about, but more, of the A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, etc. R-Type Tactics 1 and 2. How many R-Type games come out? So many, all the time. And I feel like it's different people that maybe own different aspects of R-Type, but again, I'm not a tactics person, but when it comes to something like R-Type where I get to see the ships, the monsters, the aliens, whatever, I'm down with that. Yeah, because if you look at developer, Is that all? What top sellers up? Oh, okay. So they did the finals, the R-Type finals, but not the Delta or the DX or 3. It's confusing. Like if we do R-Type DX, this just came out and I beat it on Switch. That's City Connection. If we do R-Type Dimensions 3, that's Crystocrats, which makes me want to play this more. It was so fun. The original developer has been on Twitter talking about R-Type 3, the original R-Type 3 developer. That's cool. Well, let's see. Going back. Okay, so here's the other thing. Dead or Alive 6 last round. It's like, haven't I played that? But like if it's coming out on PC. So I've played 6 for 7 hours. I've played 5 last round. So I can see where, and then 6 for, so, but that's the thing. Like I already like paid for all this DLC on PSN. And that's the thing is like, then do I buy it again? It's always hard to say. It's always hard to say. I've already played so much of 6. Wow. But that is cool. All right. Villian Code. Some EA Sports UFC, Frog Squad, Solar Punk. Okay. You know, it's a cool month. Nothing that really stands out that's like, oh my God, I need to play it. So you know what that's going to do? It's going to give me time to finish James Bond, finish Mouse PI, and finish Lego Batman. I didn't play that this weekend, and it's a fun game, but it's like it's like one of those just chill and play. So yeah, I'd like to get to that. And then near the end, so I have some other news items, I think. Check this out. They just announced this morning the ROG Xbox Ally X20. Oh my God, I would totally get this, but I'm not going to. Just because of how much it's probably going to cost. It actually comes with some 3D glasses also. You can only get it that way. But this is one of the coolest looking designs to me because it's this transparent black, but you could see where it kind of has a little bit of the ROG Ally texturing on it. And the back has the rubber grips. It has the gold accents on it, and it's a bigger screen and an OLED screen. This is amazing. Oh, the D-pad. If you notice, the D-pad might be hard to see. It does the old school 360 D-pad where you turn it and it becomes more of the, I guess, the 8 way if you need the 8, but you can turn it just to have the up, down, left, right. I love that type of D-pad. This thing is awesome, but it would make no sense for me to buy this, considering I already have the older ROG Ally, which is good enough for what I need to do, especially if I just want to stream something. I just love the handles here. Even Russ from Retro Game Core was saying how like these buttons are the best feeling buttons he's ever pressed on a PC handheld. So yeah, crazy that they announced this, and it's also crazy to think how people are always talking about, oh, we're being priced out, gamers are being, and I don't think that's the case. I think there's just enough people that are willing to pay for this stuff. It's just maybe the average mainstream casual player has been maybe priced out of when it makes sense that the sort of bleeding edge technology. Fable got delayed into February, which makes sense. I think this was sort of assumed because of GTA, and that's okay. Jet Set Radio Leaker has leaked Sonic, Ace Attorney, Persona, Crazy Taxi information. So, Persona is coming to Fortnite. There will be announcements for Sonic this year. Claims there's a new Sonic model. Describes it as a great improvement. Are they going to have a new Sonic design? That's going to be crazy. Because the last one, and maybe they've done a little more, but the last big one was when they went from the 16-bit to the Dreamcast. Let's see. A new character in Jet Set Radio, new Ace Attorney. A larger trailer for Jet Set Radio is in the works, separate from the one he leaked. Ooh, a new image of a leaked image of the new Streets of Rage, which you would think they would have the original developer Streets of Rage 4 just work on the new one. It would be crazy if they didn't. It reminded me of the whole Double Dragon thing where they'll have like a different developer on a new game and then they all play different. I don't know. Which actually, that's not like a bad idea inherently. Okay. Metaphor Refantasio port for Switch 2. Crazy Taxi will release before Jet Set Radio. You know what would be amazing for Sega to do a Crazy Taxi? That they work with The Offspring to use, like, it should be the trailer. It like says Sega, and then you hear The Offspring, All I Want, start playing. And then it shows Crazy Taxi. That's what they got to do for this, for one of these, like, what is it, this week or next week is all the Summer Game Fest, directs, blah, 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 state of plays. We're going to see something like that. Phantasy Star Online 3 in development, Pew game next year. I guess nothing else too interesting there. And I think that's it. That was a good, quick rundown of what's been going on. I think my biggest takeaway here is, guys, the 007 game is fun. It's going to be in the Game of the Year conversation. It has to. I think it helps improve on the third-person prestige game, and I always call it that because they make these very high production, low barrier of entry in terms of mechanics games where it's all presentation, but there's a lot of mechanics in this, and I think it nails it. And then the other thing is the game dev. I'm gonna keep working on this iterative process of polishing of what are the little nuances to make that experience work, more than just slapping in sprites and stuff. So a lot to be going on. Anyway, guys, I'm going to head out. That was a lot of fun. I'll be back tomorrow on the Gundam Explained show, or actually it's the Gundam Explained morning show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So until then, guys, have a good one. We'll talk later. See ya.